It is 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Blue Collar Sports. We are live down here in the Pulse Radio studio at Boise State University. Excited you're listening to Blue Collar Sports. We like to talk lots of national sports, pretty much any sports topic related, and sometimes we get a little offbeat, but try to keep it towards sports. But I'm your co-host, Seth Newville, joined here with co-host Trevor Brenlin, and you've now tuned in to our 102nd show ever. Pretty remarkable. It's already been 102. It flies by, that's for sure. But we're every Tuesday, Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time down here in Boise, Idaho. Trevor, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Seth. Thanks for bringing us in. It's been a great couple of weeks on Blue Collar Sports. We had our 100th show last week. Yeah. We had Ryan on Tuesday. It was a fantastic interview. And today's just going to keep getting better. And I think the future is bright for us, and I'm just enjoying it the whole ride through.
That is right, and enjoying it again. Big shout out to Paul Pennington. He joined us last Thursday for our 100th show, and Ryan Seeker, who joined us Tuesday. But today you are stuck with just me and Trevor. But it's going to be a great show for you. Nice and cold and sunny down here in Boise. I want to get your opinion on that. I know you're a California guy, but you also like the mountains. So what are you?
I'm stuck in the middle. I am. We had to be up early today, so it was a little rough getting to work in the snow. We got a couple inches, but. I do love the snow, but that's only if I'm up there in the mountains skiing. I will have to do that tomorrow. Unfortunately, can't do that today. So if I can't ski in it, then it's a little annoying. So I go both ways, but I'm definitely enjoying it. It's much different in California.
I hate the snow. not about snow. I don't ski. I don't snowboard.
Then I understand.
None of that. I'll sled. That's why I like snow.
Fun.
But I mean, I got to drive places. Safe travels for everyone traveling around Boise and really anywhere if it's snowy. But we're gonna dive right in now with a little Duke, North Carolina, as that was obviously the big marquee matchup of last night.
Right.
Perhaps the greatest rivalry in sports. We'll have plenty more on that later on in today's show. But we're going to talk about this game. North Carolina, I believe they're ranked 8th in the country. Came into this game 8th. The new poll just came out. But they take down number 1 Duke comfortably in Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke. Beat him by 16, 88-72. Big game from Luke May. A lot of experience on North Carolina. A lot of these big powerhouses, Kentucky, Duke, a lot of these teams are built around one-and-done freshmen. North Carolina seems to always have guys that come back. Roy Williams might have a different approach to it, but Joel Berry played there for a couple years. Luke May's been there for a while, and he was the one that took over, having 30 and 15 last night. A big win for North Carolina. Got to give them credit.
Yeah, it was a big night in college basketball. For me, I'll be honest, I haven't watched much college basketball up to this point.
Been watching The Bachelor.
I have been watching The Bachelor, which we'll have an update on that. I am caught up, so we'll have more on that in a little bit. But, I think the North Carolina-Duke is always a great rivalry, which you said we're going to have more on in a little bit. But I think once that game happens, that's when me and I think a lot of college basketball fans start trying to get into it and get ready for March Madness. We're paying more attention. I think this game really did that for me. Everyone was excited. Everybody showed up. Former President Barack Obama was there. The tickets for this game was outstanding. But the game itself, I don't think, is the biggest news from what happened, unfortunately, which we're going to get to in just a second. But I think the whole atmosphere, it really kicked off the end of college basketball right now for this season. And I think that's why everybody jumped on board for this game. Super excited, and it's really the start of March Madness, I believe.
Yeah, it's always a big indicator. Interesting fact, too, this was actually the latest a Duke-North Carolina game has ever been played in a regular season.
Okay. It seemed kind of late.
It was late. Next game, of course, will be in North Carolina March 9th, so just a couple more weeks before they play again. But North Carolina dominated this one from start to finish, but like you said, that was not the biggest news coming out of this game. The biggest news, and you referenced the ticket prices to this game, which were off the charts. I mean, shattered a lot of records. The only other sports event this year that has been worth more to attend was the Super Bowl. This was worth more than the NBA Finals last year, worth more than the World Series, which a lot of people are making a big deal of, and I get that, but you got to look at there's a reason to it. It's because there's not many tickets out there for a game like this. What people don't know, Cameron Indoor, Duke Stadium, is a very small stadium, and it's built mainly for students. Yeah. And students, of course, get the free tickets if you camp out and whatnot. So there's very minimal tickets able to purchase in this stadium, which makes this so expensive. And then, of course, the big names this year. North Carolina's number 8, and Duke's got 3 and maybe the top 5 picks in the NBA draft.
Correct.
So that's why the tickets were so high. But we're going to get to the big news now, and that was an injury that happened in the first minute. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, this is the biggest news coming out of the the night, unfortunately. We know North Carolina won 88-72, but the biggest news, of course, is projected number 1 pick Zion Williamson going down with an injured knee injury in the first 30 seconds of the game, first minute, first possession for Duke. I'm sure you all saw it if you were watching this game or heard about it. Zion Williamson driving down, blows out his shoe. His foot comes out of his Paul George 2.5s and just goes straight down. It looked very worse right when it happened, and I think it's turned out to be. I thought possibly ACL, MCL, both maybe. I thought it was very, very scary at the time. He went straight to the locker room. He was limping, and he was never able to come back out, even on the bench. He had to watch from the locker room. So very unfortunate to see Zion go down and just not even being able to see Duke and North Carolina go at it full force with the ticket prices are expensive. A lot of stars were there, and that was because they wanted to see a star in Zion Williamson, and he goes out in the first minute. Is very unfortunate, and it's just sad to see that happen to a great player. And we're going to see when we're going to project what he's going to do next if he should come play or move on from college. But it was just very unfortunate to see, and I don't know if I've ever seen something like it. Just totally blowing out his shoe and just going down and out of the game, and I just feel bad for him and Duke because this is the big rivalry that we all were talking about, and to have your leader go down like that, it just took out all of the energy, and I think that's why Duke lost.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. Of course, hoping for a speedy recovery for Zion Williamson. We've talked about him quite a bit on this show, and I don't agree with that Duke would have won this game with Zion Williams. Zion Williamson. I think it. I mean, obviously, it's a whole different game. You look at the stats. North Carolina, where they won this game, they blew them out on the offensive rebounds, and that's just a matter of wanting it more. They wanted it more. They attacked the offense. Jay Billis made an interesting point during the game where he talked about how North Carolina every single year with Roy Williams is always in the top with the country with offensive rebounding, yet they don't practice offensive rebounding. I think he just has a mindset instilled in them that they just want it more, and that's why I still think North Carolina would have won regardless of the injury. But that's all speculation. You can't really talk much about that. But of course, with seeing Zion get hurt, it draws up a lot of questions. The first one we're going to talk about, the first major one, is the idea of him, even if he's healthy. They said it appears to be a mild sprain. There's still getting evaluations. There's no timetable. Coach K said there's no timetable for a return. But now the debate comes up of even if he's healthy in the next week or two, coming down to the wire, is it worth it for him to go out and possibly get hurt and hurt his draft stock? Or would you, even if he's healthy, would you sit it out? Would you leave Duke altogether? Yeah, it's a tough question. I think only he can answer that. I don't know what's running through his mind. Probably tons of different scenarios. Only he can answer that and do what he wants to do. Going back to the game real quick, I don't know if Duke would have won or not if they had Zion. I think it would have been a much closer game, obviously. Yeah. I do think seeing Zion go down, it took a lot of energy out of the stadium, a lot of energy out of the entire Duke team, and I think they never were able to get back to the game itself. I think the game just got ahead of them too much. North Carolina took great advantage of that, and that's why they were able to dominate this entire game. And they played very well. I think they're a very scary team in the Final Four college basketball March Madness tournament. So I think Duke is the better team, but they had no life after Zion went down, and that's why they just were not able to capitalize in this game against North Carolina. But for Zion himself, it's very hard for him to come back, and I think he probably wants to come back and play for his teammates and try and win for Duke, that's why he went to this school. But he does realize he's probably going to be the number 1 or 2 pick in the NBA draft, and he wants to get the most money he can, obviously, for his family. And if he goes back, he could risk injury just like he just did. Or he could sit it out and know he's going to be a top 1 or 2 pick, and he's going to get what he deserves. And so it's a very tough situation. I think only he can answer it. I probably would sit it out. I really would. I don't know. He's done everything he can for Duke. I think it's time to sit out. We saw Joey Bosa of Ohio State sit out, or Nick Bosa. And just now he's probably going to be a 1 or 2 pick in the NFL draft. And so we've seen this happen before. I don't think it's a bad move. Ben Simmons did it. He ended up turning out just fine. So I think Zion Williamson, I would not
I don't think it would hurt him at all if he didn't come back to play at Duke.
I agree that I don't think it hurt him. For his future, it might be the better decision. But, man, you go to Duke looking to win a national championship every year. That's why you go to. You came in with one of the top recruiting classes, or the top recruiting class, one of the top we've ever seen with R.J. Barry and Cam Reddish. You play all year with brothers. When you play for Coach K, you know what the expectation is. You're going to win a national championship. And if you're healthy, I don't want to see someone that's healthy not playing with the guys they've been working with all year, with the guys they've been grinding out with every single day. And I think it would look really good for him. I know it's risky, he could risk injury, but imagine if he comes back, beats North Carolina in Chapel Hill,
it would look good, yeah.
March 9th, and makes his huge run in the NCAA tournament. I think that looks better than anything he could show in workouts or anything like that, obviously. And it kind of reminds me of the tanking dilemma in sports. Just sitting it out and not giving it all. When I look at sports, the beauty about sports to me is giving it your all, giving so much. That's why I love Kobe Bryant's mindset. He just gives all of his focus, all of his detail to every little thing that encompasses success, and that's what I want to see. That's why I want to see a speedy recovery from Zion Williamson and get back out there with the guys he's been working with and go out. I understand it could hurt his draft stock, but he does have an $8 million insurance policy.
I've heard about that.
Where if he gets drafted outside the top 16, he is guaranteed that money if it's due to injury. So he does have that, but obviously, you look long term, a knee injury is way more than money. Knee injury could drag you down the rest of your career.
Yep.
I know Derrick Rose is back this year, but he's
not the same player.
Right. But from a fan's perspective, from a someone who loves sports, and it's why I love sports, because I love to see people fight and go out there every night and give it all they have. I want to see him back out there.
Yeah, I think for me the question comes down to, did he go to Duke to win a championship, or did he go to Duke because he has to be out of high school for a year? Right. That's what it comes down to, and that's the only question, or that's the only thing he can answer. We can answer that for him, and I think we're going to see very soon if one of those is true, if he wants to go back. And I think if he does go back to Duke, I could definitely see him beating North Carolina, and they would be my favorites to win the entire tournament, and I think that would be fantastic for any team drafting with the number 1 pick. I would draft him. But if he doesn't come back, I don't think it will hurt him. He'll regain his health and be ready to go once he hits the NBA. Because for me, I think he's an NBA player right now. I don't know if I see any other college player right now that could have as big of an impact in the NBA as he can right now for any team. And so that's why I think, like you said, that brings up the other question, if they should go out straight out of high school or if they should go to college for sit out for a year. I think Zion's that type of player that could have gone right out of high school and make an impact in the NBA right now. But that's not the rule right now. And unfortunately, Zion goes down with an injury, and he's got a big decision to make for his future.
Yeah, exactly. That brings us into a whole other discussion. That's what kind of a lot of people are talking about this morning. It brings us back to the one-and-done rule. And, of course, the one-and-done rule, have to go play college for at least one season, unless you go play overseas. But it got a lot of big-name NBA players' attention last night, which was seen that, you saw Donovan Mitchell. He was tweeting before the game, before the injury to Zion Williamson, about the ticket prices, about how this is why college athletes need to get paid.
Yeah, that's another discussion.
Which is a whole other discussion. And then Luka Doncic replied to go play in Europe, kind of joking. But, there's also definitely some truth to that as well. And then Boogie Cousins, who just right before the show, a couple minutes ago, I saw he posted saying the NCAA is corrupt and why Zion should just leave it right now. So there's a lot of opinions about it, and I understand. Yeah. I think it all comes down to the one-and-done rule. I don't like the one-and-done rule. You look at a guy like Zion Williamson. There's no reason for him to be in college. He knows where he's going. He knows he's going. For a living, he's going to play professional basketball. He knows that. It's different, obviously, for guys that aren't a number 1 or 2 or 3 guaranteed pick. But there's no reason for him to go spend a year, risk an injury like this, just to play 1 year in college. He's not getting an education. He's getting 1 year. Yeah. And so I don't like that rule. I think this is what it boils down to. And I do hope there's a change from the NCAA eventually.
Yeah, in life, if you're going to go get a job, but we haven't seen anybody do it just yet. They've still been going to college. because of the brands that it brings. North Carolina and Duke is a huge brand, and that's why it's one of the biggest rivalries in sports. Right. And so that it does bring a lot of image, but then people start talking about should they get paid, and that's a whole other discussion. So it just brings up so many different questions. And then another one now that I have for you is, do you think Zion Williamson will be a Nike athlete after this injury wearing Nike Paul Georges?
Yeah, it's this whole situation is not a good look for Nike, not a good look for Paul George.
No, their stock actually went down $1.
Really?
Today.
That's interesting. I did not know that. I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't think Paul George's shoes were designed for a guy.
You shouldn't freak out about Nike right now. No reason to. They'll figure it out.
Right. But I do see Zion as a Nike athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I see him. I mean, I see a lot of LeBron James in Zion.
I believe so.
His demeanor, of course, his style of play. So, and I see him taking that path in Nike. I think R.J. Barrett and those guys maybe not, but in terms of Zion, I do see him just because of his overpowering. I mean, you can tell he thrives under the spotlight, and I think that's what kind of Nike athletes do.
Yeah.
And so he has that Nike switch for me.
Yeah, I believe so. I think LeBron will try and root for him and bring him under his wing, and if he could somehow get to New York and be a star under those Madison Square Garden wearing Nikes, Zion's gonna be a star, and that's if he imagines that future, and for that to happen, it might be the best to sit out the rest of his college season. So we'll see what he decides to do, but it's a huge question and probably the biggest in sports right now.
Yeah, definitely a big discussion this morning in sports, and it's definitely one that's not going to go away. So we'll have plenty more on this for future shows. We are going to head off to break. You're listening to Blue Collar Sports right now. We are just 20 minutes into our show. We got a great show, 2 to 4, so make sure to stay with us through. We're heading off to break, but we'll see you right back here in a couple minutes.